Hey, I hope you enjoyed the 8-day series of Underworld Venus. That's the first time I've ever done anything like that, although I've been aware of that Mayan mythology for nearly 2 decades. And I've also been to that area of Mexico where that where the Mayans used to live. And so now let's look at now that she's reborn as the morning star. She was called Venus Phosphorus Lucifer, and Lucifer means light bearer. And so the Venus retrograde time period is the time to bring illumination to one's motivations. And if it's in Leo, then we have the next 9 months until June 5th of 2016 to really understand the nature of why we give what we give. So, of course, you want to know, well, how does this relate to yourself? Well, understand that Lucifer in the Old Testament, one of the few times that he even talked to the fallen angel, talked to God, Yahweh, Jehovah, was in the book of Job. Just a synopsis, Job was just very prosperous and had a lot of children, a lot of money. And Lucifer was like, well, of course he's going to worship you, God. Look at how much stuff he has. So he took it away. He never renounced God. Job never did. Did it a second time. Point is that Lucifer is the Allah devil, the devil's advocate. So from now to September 6th, we're all looking at, well, why aren't we doing what we're doing? If we're giving, are we giving what we want to give to the person, or are we giving what they really actually, he or she actually really needs? So understand that this morning star phase is to get us up in the morning, or to get our consciousness raised about why we value what we value and how we go about doing it. So, one of the things that we can do is understand that the Lucifer part of our chart, if the sun is the godlike spirit in our chart, our ability to have consciousness, and I prefer to say Christ consciousness, because you can be a Buddhist, you can be Islamic, but you can have the consciousness of the Christ. Loving your neighbor as yourself and loving God with your whole heart and spirit. Those were some pretty radical words a couple thousand years ago. Because in order to love your neighbor as yourself, well, you got to love yourself. And that's one of the lessons of Leo, is how to have a radical root form of self-love. Not the narcissistic selfie kind of self-love, although that can be a part of it paradoxically, but ultimately understanding that we're all reflecting each other, and how do we work that as a modality of a way of life. Because remember, the morning star is Aphrodite Pandemos, is Venus Phosphorus Lucifer, so it's Venus in the physical world, how she works in the day-to-day reality. So Virgo starts on Sunday morning on August 23rd, and so if Virgo is a practical earth sign that esoteric astrologers speak to, say that you get to birth the Christ consciousness. Well, what are some of the qualities of Virgo that we need to look forward to for over the next 30 days from August 23rd to approximately September 22nd? One of them would have to be understanding that we're ending a Saturn in Scorpio. He will be leaving Scorpio to go into Sagittarius on September 17th. And so basically what that indicates is that we're looking at a time period where, that's Eugene here, he's my sidekick over here, my camel, see he is, anyway, Eugene, he kind of keeps me focused a little bit. Well, he just took me off of focus. Well, where I'm going with this is that look at what power dynamics were going on in your relationships, shared resources, your relationship to your own shadow, whether or not you were sharing light on it. Again, Lucifer for yourself. Saturn went into Scorpio on October 12th, October of 2012, excuse me. And so now that he's ending this, he as the Lucifer part of our charts. So the Sun and Saturn, whether or not they are in actual communication with each other, by aspect is what we call it in astrology, they are in relationship to each other, as the sun being the life giver, the God, how do we co-create our lives through spirit? And then the sign tells us how we go about doing that. And Saturn represents the devil's advocate, or the Lucifer test. So, to recap, that's the next question in this series of understanding the Venus star. Morning star in Leo is understanding the relationship between your sun, the star, and Saturn. Do you know? Have a good one, and I will talk more about the Virgo. This is Virgo part one. Why don't we call it that?